Page 24. Track 29. Listening 3. 1,
How was your flight?
Oh, it was great. My flight was overbooked, and the airline asked for volunteers to go on a later flight. I volunteered because the next flight was only an hour later, and the airline gave me $300. It pays to be bumped.
2,
Did you have a good flight?
Ugh, no, it was terrible.
Oh no. Why?
The flight was fully booked, so every seat was taken. I was crammed between this guy who was snoring the whole time and a really messy kid who got his chips all over me. I couldn't wait for it to be over.
3,
Did you have any trouble finding the house?
No, not at all. We used the GPS, but it sure was a long drive.
Did you stop anywhere?
Yeah, we stopped at a rest stop about halfway here to get a cold drink and stretch our legs. It was really hot out, and there were a ton of people there. I guess it was a good weekend for road trips.
4,
How was the drive?
It was okay.
Really? You look worn out.
Well, I guess we are pretty exhausted. It was so hot out, and the air conditioning broke an hour into the trip. We stopped at the halfway mark to switch drivers and eat lunch. Then we had trouble starting the car.
5,
Did you enjoy the ride?
Oh, it was great. It was nice to just relax and not have to worry about driving. I read my book and did Sudoku puzzles the whole way. And I met some really nice people too. They were on their way to Boston too. I don't know why I've never taken the train before.
6,
How was the trip?
Pretty good, I guess. I don't really know because I was asleep the whole time.
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. I started reading a book, but then I fell asleep and didn't wake up until 10 minutes after my stop. I had to get off the train and get on another one going the other direction. I'll have to set the alarm on my phone next time.
Page 25. Track 30. Pronunciation. 1,
Did you go to Los Angeles?
2,
You need to go on vacation.
3,
We like to travel.
4,
Let's go to Tokyo.
5,
It's hard to drive 10 hours.
6,
I'm going to London.
Page 25. Track 31. Dictation.
Welcome back. Tell me about your trip.
Oh, it was so much fun. First, we went to New York.
Did you go to the Museum of Modern Art?
Yes, we loved it. I had always wanted to see that museum. We also went to Central Park, of course, and lots of other sites.
Where did you go after that?
After New York, we went to Philadelphia for 3 days. And then we went to Boston for 2 days. It was a great vacation.
Unit 7. Housing. Page 26. Track 32. Listening 1. 1,
Well, I'm single and I spend a lot of time traveling, so I'm not home very much. So there's really no point in my spending money on a large place with lots of rooms.
2,
We've got 3 small children, and they like to play outside, so I don't think it makes sense for us to live in a high-rise building.
3,
I work right in the city and I don't have a car. I'd like a place close to my work so that I don't have to spend a lot of time commuting.
4,
I run my own business and I work out of my home. I'm lucky because I don't have to go into town very often, so I'd like a place that's quiet and away from the city.
5,
I need a new place.
I need a good-sized apartment because I have 2 teenage sons, and they each need to have their own bedroom. We want to live downtown, too.
6.
Both my wife and I work for an airline, and we'd like something fairly close to work. We don't mind if it's small because there's only the 2 of us. We don't even mind the noise of the planes. In fact, we kind of like it.
Page 27. Track 33. Listening to. 1.
My neighbors are fantastic. They're really friendly, and some of them have great parties, too. I'd like more space, though. There's hardly enough space for all my stuff. I guess I should throw some of it out, but I just can't.
2.
The apartment I rent is okay. It's near a lot of stores, so it's convenient for shopping. The problem, though, is that the owner hasn't spent any money on the place in years. The furniture is falling apart, and the carpet in the living room is stained in places.
3.
There are advantages and disadvantages to living out here in the suburbs. It's not really the most convenient place to live. It takes forever to get into town, especially during rush hour. And there aren't any good stores out here. On the other hand, it's nice and quiet on the weekends.
4.
I love my apartment. I wish I could afford to stay here. The location is perfect. It has huge windows with a beautiful view, and I love being able to step outside and walk to cafes and shops. The only problem is the rent. It's just too high now, so I can't stay.
5.
My place is huge. It has room for all my stuff, and there's a big kitchen, too. Of course, it's really old, so it needs a coat of paint and some new appliances. The refrigerator and dishwasher are really ancient, and I think the stove is about 100 years old.
6.
I recently moved into an apartment building for the first time. I've always lived in houses. It takes a while to get used to having neighbors right next door. I feel like they're always listening to me, like they want to know everything I do. It's annoying. But the rent is much cheaper than my old place, and I like that.
Page 28. Track 34. Listening 3. 1.
We used to have a nice apartment downtown. It had great views of the city. But then these new people moved in upstairs. They played loud music all the time, and the sound came straight through the ceiling and into our apartment. It was terrible, so we moved. Now we're living in a nice small house in the suburbs, and our neighbors are very quiet.
2.
My new apartment is on a high floor and it's great. There's no noise at all. I only hear the birds in the park. Before that, I lived in a first-floor apartment. It had a little yard, which was nice, but I heard people coming and going all the time. And it was close to the street, so I heard all the traffic too.
3.
We didn't really want to move because we loved our apartment. We had a wonderful landlady too. She didn't raise the rent for years, and if anything was broken, she would get it fixed really fast. But with the children getting older, we needed to be closer to a good school. So that's why we moved. Now we live in an apartment in the suburbs.
4.
I used to live in a nice apartment downtown, in a pretty interesting neighborhood. But the thing was, they wouldn't let you keep a pet. I really wanted to get a cat, so I moved to a place where you could keep pets. Now I live in a building near the park, and there's 2 of us, me and my cat Felix. We play all the time.
5.
My new apartment has a huge kitchen and a great stove. I'm really happy about it. I love to cook and have parties, but the kitchen in my old place was so tiny. And the dining room was small too. The location was good, but I could never have people over for dinner, so I needed to find something different.
6.
I used to live in a house. I had a nice yard in the front and another yard in the back. The trouble was the maintenance. It was really expensive to take care of, so I moved. Now I live in an apartment with no yard. Even though I have much less space now, it's wonderful because it's a lot cheaper.
Page 29. Track 35. Pronunciation. 1,
My apartment building is 5 stories high.
2,
My sons are in college.
3,
The yard is pretty big.
4,
Our neighbors are very quiet.
5,
My house is too small for my family.
6,
The bathrooms are small.
Page 29. Track 36. Dictation.
How's it going? Do you like your new apartment?
Oh, I love it. My neighbors are really friendly, and the landlord is nice.
That's great. What's the building like?
The building is 10 stories high, and there are 10 apartments on each floor. So I guess there are 100 apartments.
Wow, it sounds huge. Have you seen some of the other apartments?
Yeah, my next-door neighbor invited me over for coffee the other day. She and her husband are doctors. They've been in the building for 5 years.
Unit 8. Can you believe it? Page 30. Track 37. Listening 1. 1,
Did you hear about that woman in Florida?
No, what happened?
She pulled out the power cable to her office building so she could be sent home early with pay.
No way.
Yeah, and she had done the same thing to the telephone lines in the past in order to get out of work.
That's awful. What finally happened to her?
She lost her job and was arrested for damaging property.
2,
Did you hear about the woman who has to spend a month in jail because her pet is too overweight?
What? No.
Yeah, her pot-bellied pig weighs 200 pounds. Most weigh between 65 and 100 pounds. It's unhealthy for the poor animal to be that big, and it has trouble walking.
So, what happened?
Well, the police charged her with animal neglect. She also has to pay a $500 fine.
3,
What are you laughing about?
The story I'm reading. You know how call forwarding works, right?
Yeah, you can have calls to one phone number forwarded to another number.
Right. Well, this plumber in Pennsylvania had the calls to 5 other plumbers forwarded to his own business.
So, he stole the other plumber's customers?
Yeah, but just the customers with big, expensive jobs. He's in jail now and lost his plumber's license.
4,
I just read something amazing in the news.
What was it?
These 2 robbers robbed a convenience store.
What happened next?
Well, after the robbery, they decided to steal a car.
Yeah? Did they get away?
No, they jumped in the stolen getaway car but couldn't drive it.
Why was that?
Because the guy didn't know how to drive a car with a stick shift, and so the police caught them.
5,
Did you read this story about the man in Sweden?
No, what happened?
It says, customs officials in Sweden had an unusual experience today. As a man was going through the customs checkpoint, officers noticed that his shirt was moving.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know. Listen. When they searched him, they found 65 baby snakes and 6 lizards inside his shirt. The man said he wanted to open a reptile farm. They arrested him for smuggling.
6,
Did you hear about that guy who tried to rob a pharmacy in Canada?
No, what happened?
He was in the drugstore, and he told the employees there that he was going to come back in half an hour and rob them.
So, what did they do?
They called the police, of course. So, when the guy came back 30 minutes later with his friend, the police were waiting for them.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Page 31. Track 38. Listening to. 1.
A young man in Illinois was having trouble paying his college tuition, so he came up with quite a creative solution. He wrote to a newspaper columnist and asked him to print a request in his column. He wanted the columnist to ask readers to send in 1 penny to help him pay for his college education. Readers of the newspaper thought it was a funny idea, so they sent in their pennies, and in the end, the young man collected $28,000.
2.
An American football team wants to hire 250 students to help them get their new football arena ready for visitors. The job? Flushing toilets. Apparently, when a new stadium or arena is built, you have to make sure all the plumbing is working properly before you can open for business. And the only way to do that is to flush all the toilets at the same time.
3.
We all know that Egyptians mummified their pharaohs when they died in order to preserve their bodies for eternity. The Egyptians had an elaborate process for mummification involving various chemicals and techniques. But they may have been better off just going to Colombia, South America. It's been discovered that the soil in the town of San Bernardo, Colombia, contains ingredients that naturally mummify anyone buried there.
4.
What would you do if you were bored with your job because you didn't have enough work to do? Would you quit? That's not what a man working in a New Mexico government office did. Instead, he decided to sue his employer for wrongful hiring. He argues that he left a higher-paying business job to take the government job and ended up with nothing to do.
Page 32. Track 39. Listening 3. 1.
Hey, listen to this. In Florida today, a man was found drifting about a mile offshore. He was on a swimming pool float sound asleep. Can you believe that?
No way! What was he doing out there?
Let's see. It says, apparently the man had fallen asleep and wasn't aware that he was drifting out to sea. After rescuing him, the Coast Guard said that he was very lucky that they found him.
2.
Wow, did you hear about the twin sisters that were separated at birth?
No, what happened?
They were adopted by different families when they were babies and grew up in different cities.
Yeah?
But after high school, they both attended the same college.
Wow, and they met there?
Yes, they figured out they were twins. They were even in the same class.
3.
Hey, has an airline ever lost your luggage?
Yeah, once.
Well, this British guy claimed that different airlines lost his luggage dozens of times. And since the airlines pay you when they lose your luggage, he's gotten about $135,000 in lost luggage claims.
Wow, that's amazing.
It sounds amazing, but it isn't really. The guy had an illegal scam going. He would check 2 or 3 bags. Then when he reached his destination, he would put one bag inside another one and claim that it was lost.
4.
I just read the most amazing story online.
What was it about?
Well, this guy in Florida found a camera floating in the ocean in a plastic case. He decided he would try to find the owner of the camera, so he posted the photos online. Believe it or not, people who saw the photos helped him identify the owner of the camera. And it turns out the owner had dropped it in the ocean in Aruba several months earlier. It had floated 1,000 miles.
5.
Did you hear that amazing story about the newborn twins?
Yeah, one twin was really sick, right?
That's right. She wouldn't stop crying and she was turning blue. No one could calm her. Then a nurse at the hospital put her twin sister next to her, and when the healthy twin put her arm over her sister, the sick twin stopped crying and started getting better.
6.
Wow, I think I need to get a parrot.
Why? What are you reading about?
I'm reading a story about a parrot that saved 2 people's lives. A man and his son fell asleep on the couch watching a movie. While they were sleeping, their house caught on fire. They woke up suddenly when they heard their parrot imitating a smoke alarm. Apparently, their smoke alarm did go off, but it wasn't loud enough to wake them up.
Page 33. Track 40. Pronunciation. 1,
The drugstore employees called the police after he left.
2,
When he came back, the police were waiting for him.
3,
While they were sleeping, their house caught on fire.
4,
The smoke alarm went off, but it didn't wake them up.
Page 33. Track 41. Dictation.
Did you hear about that guy who sent himself somewhere in a box?
What? No. What happened?
Well, this guy wanted to go to Dallas to visit his father, but he didn't want to pay for a plane ticket.
Yeah? What did he do?
He figured he would save money by mailing himself to Dallas, so he packed himself inside a box.
You're kidding me. That must have been some trip.